that again. Congresswoman Deborah Ross has done important work for a long time. I am proud to say that you are my congresswoman right now. Yay. But I saw that with the new map, they like carved out my precinct, and I'm gonna have Representative Kushi.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
like they
Is
just
it
went,
like Apex? area?
no, it's North Raleigh 0147.
Oh.
They just like took the little piece out and made the shape like a monster, cookie monster. So, but I have you now.
Okay.
And so, you have fought very long and very consistently for many of the issues that matter to now members. You take strong positions on important bills and matters. You have solid, excellent experience in office and before you went into office. I appreciate your press releases on matters at the federal and the state level. I love your idea to require a 3-judge panel to preside over any cases seeking nationwide relief, which would prevent biased judges from making terrible and inappropriate rulings, as on the abortion pills. So keep up the good work. We're looking forward to hearing you speak about what women want.
Okay, well, great. Thank you so much, Galia, and it's wonderful to be here with Now. And obviously, you all know that State Representative Maria Cervania is here. I don't know what's about introduced. She was formerly a Wake County Commissioner, and now she's one of the first AAPI women to ever be elected to the North Carolina General Assembly. She's doing a great job, along with Yalu. Also, Emma Larson is here. You may remember her from my congressional campaigns. And she's helping some other folks too, including Allison Riggs, because we need to keep Allison Riggs on the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And then my niece, Amelia, is here, who goes to Davidson, and she's just visiting this weekend because Davidson makes you go to class on the Monday and Tuesday before Thanksgiving. But I want to just share this about Amelia. Amelia used same-day voter registration to vote when she was a freshman at Davidson. So she is a registered North Carolina voter. And I'm very proud of her. So I want to thank Now and your wonderful president for inviting me to be with you this afternoon. And it was kind of touch and go because things are really up in the air in Washington. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk for about 15 minutes, but I want to hear from you. I want to hear what's going on the ground all over North Carolina. I want to talk about what we need to do for this next election. I want to talk about what we need to do to get more women to the polls, because we know that when women vote, women win. And women vote when we work on things that women care about. And we saw that this past November, and we saw some amazing victories all across the country, including for school boards, which was really, really a concern. So I want to be able to leave enough time for that. Am I standing in the right place?
You're perfect.
Okay. And then I'm going to spend just a few minutes, which is not part of my wonderful prepared remarks, talking about how I got my start working on political campaigns and working on women's issues, because I think that is how we need to inspire the next generation. I also understand, are there some UNC students here? Where are the UNC students? They were. Okay. Well, we'll just inspire Amelia. Okay. So I started working on political campaigns when I was 10 years old, because my mother was an active member of the League of Women Voters. And the small town where I grew up didn't have very many women serving in local elected office. Now, I will say this about the small town of Connecticut where I grew up, mostly. We did have a woman governor, Ella Grasso. And I did have a woman member of Congress, Barbara Kennelly. And I didn't realize until I became an adult how much that had an impression on me, because I saw that women could be in the highest offices. And to the fact that, I'm 60 years old. So the fact that I had that experience as a young woman, in addition to my mother's influence, I think was the thing that made a difference in me getting involved and believing that I could run and win. But we can all inspire the next generation, whether it's our children, our nieces, being on the college campuses, having people see that not only is it effective to advocate for the issues we all believe in, but we can win. That really makes a difference. And that's what now is all about. So I did a lot of political campaigning with my mother, particularly to get women elected. I went door to door. I didn't mind. I liked going door to door with her. She'd be on one side of the street and I'd be on the other side of the street, and we would check in. I'd even raise money going door to door. And my mom really taught me how to do that. And then when I went to college, I worked on the ERA. And we had a great group of college students working on the ERA in the 80s. Obviously, we know it wasn't successful. It wasn't here in North Carolina. But when I went to college, that was one of the things I thought was most important to do. And then when I came here to North Carolina to go to law school, I got involved again. And I was involved with Harvey Gantt's campaign. And then after I graduated, I was on the NARAL PAC board and helped elect pro-choice men and women to the General Assembly. And back then, we had pro-choice Republicans. We did. This was not a litmus test issue for the Republican Party. And I remember when Sherry Berry ran for the very first time, and we got her questionnaire, and she said that she was pro-choice. And she fought for choice and women's reproductive rights when she was in the General Assembly and when she was Labor Commissioner. Some other stuff she wasn't as good on, but she was definitely good on pro-choice issues and women's issues. And then when I started working with the ACLU, we did so much to advance women's reproductive freedom. One of the main things we did with Planned Parenthood, and this was the ACLU and Planned Parenthood working on it, and now helped too, was get insurance to cover contraception. And we got that done even before the Affordable Care Act. And back to dealing with Republicans, I just want to remind everybody that the main sponsor of that bill, which passed, was Jim Forrester, who was a Republican doctor from Gaston County. Now, he was anti-choice, and he just loved him some Billy Graham. But he understood that if women had access to contraception, there would be fewer abortions. And he introduced that bill. And then we had a bipartisan group of women led by Berla Insko, but we had Republican co-sponsors on the House side. And we got that bill passed in a bipartisan way. And I will remind you that Virginia Fox voted yes on that bill. I remind her about that all the time when we're in Congress. She's kind of changed her stripes in Washington, D.C. But it was a great honor working on that bill. And then I got elected to the General Assembly, as you all know, and we worked on so many issues for women. We worked on making sure that we had more Medicaid money that went to reproductive issues. We also tried to get an equal pay bill through. I don't know if you remember that, but Tom Tillis put that in the Rules Committee to die, and then Kay Hagan used that issue against him in her campaign. So I've been working on these issues for a really long time. Now in Congress, I have an even bigger crew to work with. And it's pretty amazing. When I first got elected, Nancy Pelosi was the Speaker of the House. Rosa DeLauro was our appropriations chair. I don't know if you all know this. This is the only reason why I have any faith that we'll eventually get a budget. Did you know that the 4 people in charge of the appropriations process in Congress right now are all women? Democratic and Republican women, and they all get along. So the Republican woman, Kay Granger, who's in charge on the House side, gets along very well with Rosa DeLauro. And then, of course, Patty Murray, who is the shero of all budgets, gets along very well with Susan Collins. And Patty Murray and Susan Collins have been producing bipartisan budgets that are passing the Senate. The Senate is better this time at passing the budget than the House is. And so I think ultimately these 4 amazing women will be able to pass some reasonable budgets through Congress. Now, there's a lot of people holding things up between now and then, but I think they will be able to do it. So now I'll get back to my prepared remarks that my wonderful staff put together. But I wanted to give you that history because I've known so many of you for a really long time. And I just wanted to show you that my involvement in working to get more women elected and on women's rights goes back 50 years. 50 years. And I'm looking okay for 60, right? So I also want you to know that women all around the country are watching this election. They are watching to see whether or not their members of Congress are truly going to care about them. And the issues that are before us right now are even beyond reproductive freedom and the ERA, which were some of the issues that galvanized women in the first place. We are fighting tooth and nail just to have childcare. Our child care funding went off a cliff and the Republicans have not renewed it. And we have child care facilities that are closing all around this country. If the government shuts down, one of the first programs that will not get funding is Head Start. Yes. And the Women and Infants WIC program. Yes. So we are talking about basic needs. We want to go forward on women's rights. We want to make sure we have equal pay for equal work, but we need to make sure that we take care of these basic needs. And that's why more women are running. And that's why more women are winning, because they are communicating this. The other thing that we're seeing, the beauty of the secret ballot, is when choice comes up on the ballot, and that's either through the referendum or as we saw in Virginia, where they took back their legislature, those Republican women vote pro-choice. They vote for the Democrats, who they know will protect their reproductive freedom. And all the independents who are out there are voting predominantly pro-choice and pro-women. I even hear from Republican men who are voting pro-choice. Where's my friend from Rollsville? I hear this in Rollsville and Wake Forest. I don't know why Republican men come up to me in Rollsville and Wake Forest. I don't know how Wake Forest they, but they do. But when we know that abortion is on the ballot, when we know that child care is on the ballot, when we know that being paid equal pay for equal work is on the ballot, we know that we win. So what we have to do going forward is make sure that we touch as many voters as possible. And we can touch them in the old-fashioned way. Now COVID's gone, we can go door to door again, like my mom taught me how to do. But we need to touch them every single place that they are. That means in places of worship. That means in our schools. That means, thank you. That means in the grocery store. It is too dire for us to sit down and be polite anymore. We have got to take this back. And it's already gone too far, obviously, with our US Supreme Court. We cannot go backward ever again, ever again. And we've got to find our allies everywhere. So what I'm focused on doing for this next election, because I know I'm allowed to talk about the elections with you guys, is voter turnout, voter turnout, voter turnout. And one of the great things about this group is you represent people from all over the state. And we have untapped potential in Wilmington. Where are the Wilmington folks? For some reason, we need to turn out that vote in Wilmington. And we've been reading that more people are moving to Wilmington and to Asheville than to other parts of this state. And I see that as a real opportunity. And we have UNCW where you can do some organizing. So we have high hopes for Wilmington. Is there anybody here from Charlotte? Okay.
In here.
Charlotte, Mecklenburg, we got to get our act together for this next election. Now, there are many things that Charlotte does better than Wake County, and I'm jealous. Like, you have way better public transit, you have light rail, you have more investment in the arts. But voting has not been so great in Mecklenburg County. And so we need, if Mecklenburg County had turned out the way that it had turned out in the past presidential election, Sherry Beasley would have won for US Senate. You gotta go where the votes are. And so we absolutely have to do that voter turnout in Mecklenburg County. I am here to help. I know my colleague, Alma Adams, is here to help. Yes, I'm hoping that Mecklenburg County will be motivated by the fact that Tricia Cotham betrayed you. Yes. And she's running again, so that's a real motivating force for you all to get out. But we know where we have that potential. The other thing I want to emphasize, I want to flip the House back to being Democratic, and I think we can do it because these guys, I mean, they're like a clown show. They are. They can't even get rules passed on the House floor. They're fighting with each other. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And we have a really, really, really great slate of new candidates who are running. I met many of them at an Emily's List breakfast last week. So I think we can take the House back. So I am going to have some of my attention going to some other places in the country for those pickup seats. But my attention here is going to be maximum voter turnout in Wake County. We have got to run up the numbers in Wake County. And Wake County has been really good. And Wake County not only has an organized party, we have all of these other great organizations like NOW, like GAS. How many people here know about GAS? Only a few. So I'm going to tell you because this might be something that you can do in your counties. So GAS was an organization of women that was started when Barack Obama first ran. It originally stood for Girlfriends Appalled by Sarah Palin. You guys remember that? And these are women who said, what can we do to help Barack Obama win in Wake County? And so mostly what they did was house volunteers who would go door to door. They would have rallies, they would do postcard campaigns, but they made all of their organizing fun. They do like their wine. And they now meet at the junction. That's where they have, and that's where they have their meetings. The last time I went to a GAS meeting, there were what, Emma, 150, 200 people there? In an off year. Why? Because it's actually fun to get together with guests. They have a good time, and then they organize people to work the polls, to do postcard campaigns, to have events. They bring in, they are the place where a lot of our statewide electeds like to go and speak. And so I'm not down on organized, long-standing organizations. I tell everybody to join the League of Women Voters. I tell everybody about NOW. But we can lighten it up and have a good time and be able to turn out more and more people. And now GASP, which was started by women who are probably about 10 or 15 years older than I am, has now been taken over by the women in their 30s and 40s. Their daughters are taking over. And so we need to think about turning out the vote, taking back control, more women's rights, but also being upbeat about it, seeing the future, inspiring the next generation. This is what we're doing, is taking back our autonomy, taking back our rights, and making sure that our daughters, our nieces, our granddaughters have a better country and are very involved in our democracy. And so I have told you the things that women and many of the things that I worked on, but I'm going to close with one of the things that women want is to have a good time turning out the vote on women's issues for women and for the next generation. So, with that, I am more than happy to take questions from the audience. And please introduce yourself and say where you're from so I get to know. Yes.
Stand up when you ask your question.
Yeah.
My name is Gina Salata. I'm an attorney and from Charlotte, Arizona. What I would like to know is the North Carolina Democratic Party did a resolution back in June that mandated Biden published before we ratified the LRA.
Yes, and I have been standing by it. As a matter of fact, in addition to standing by it and being with the Women's Caucus, which vocally goes to the Biden administration, I have also talked to Merrick Garland about making sure that the Justice Department supports having the ERA continue to be able to be ratified rather than saying that the time's up. And I have asked him for that in a committee meeting on the record.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Right.
From DC and so I split between the two. My question for you is, the ERA is already ratified. We have a resolution in Congress, HRS 82, will you support that resolution on to the Orthodox Republic?
Yeah, I've already been on record calling for that. I've already been on record calling for Merrick Garland to call out the archivists on this. I'm all in. I'm all in. However, Mike, get us the number and Emma will get it to my office. Right. Our problem, however, as you know, is Mike Johnson, who will not take the resolution up.
Well, the resolution is actually designed, I'm also a member of the National Committee. Designed to touch on the Biden administration.
I understand.
And unilaterally.
Right, I understand. I understand. That's why I got on Merrick. Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
Kathy Graves. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's kind of similar to your question, because I was on that committee, I think some weeks ago, we had a meeting with the Biden administration. So my question is, 2 days, why can't we acknowledge teenage? We can hear you.
Why can't we acknowledge teenage
domestic violence? Why is it not a factor of conversation? Why is it not viewed as?
not understanding?
I'm saying is right, North Carolina does not really acknowledge teenage domestic violence. I think there's a conversation on this over the
Okay.
because the parent versus the individual that have it.
Okay, well, this is a new topic for me. However, because I'm the North Carolina General Assembly, I'm gonna ask you to share information about this with Maria Cervanda, who is here, who is in the General Assembly, and may be able to work on it with her colleagues. I can tell you this, however. When we updated our domestic violence laws, which we did almost 20 years ago, that was done in a very bipartisan way. But the legislature has not looked back to do more. And so it is a good time to do that. I will also tell you, and I'm not just passing it off to Maria, just like, so that she has to do it all by herself. When we did it, it was bipartisan. I mean, it was the Democratic and Republican women who got together, went to the speaker and said, we have to update our domestic violence law. And guess what? It's perfect timing because Senator Lisa Grafstein has just walked in. So, Senator Grafstein, who does an amazing job, we were just talking about how North Carolina's state domestic violence laws may not provide adequate protection to teens. And so because Congress doesn't deal with that, I was just pointing out that maybe we could have an offline discussion after this with you and Representative Cervanda so that you can get the information and see what might be able to happen at the state level. Aren't you glad you got a job the minute you walked in that room? Okay, yeah.
So Lori Johnson, I live in Durham, and I wonder if you were familiar with the called Seniors Taking Action.
No, tell us about it.
Okay, this was started in New York, and they now have chapters in North Carolina, and actually very good friends with the person of the North Carolina chapter. This is very interesting way to speak to us about what the Democratic Party and the United Party what that party is going to do to get legislature more reasonable. But it would be wonderful if you would be willing to speak with that group. I would love to facilitate it, but also we let people know we postcard. And we postcarded things in Virginia. I think I got writing cards because those make a difference in the people written, along with knocking on doors, obviously, but another great organization, Seniors Taking Action, is trying to make a difference for our grandchildren and our children.
Great. Well, you can let my campaign know, and if there's time, I can certainly. I'll be running around. So yeah, thank you for that information. Yes.
I'm actually not from North Carolina. I'm sorry. I'm from Georgia. And I represent the Southern District, which is not North Carolina is a part of. But my question, my question is, okay, we women, we're gonna turn out to vote because we're the 51% of the country that we represent, and we're gonna come out to vote. But I think that there are not enough laws in place to protect 51% of this country, and we need a champion for the ERA. Representative Bush, she's been doing a wonderful job. And I understand, all the things that you have done. But it's just, to me, it's just so simple to pick up the phone and say, hey, Mr. President, can you call the archive and publish the ERA? And I think that, you know, it's important that you're here, and I'm glad that you're here. But we are tired. We are tired because we get you all elected, and then when you get and you say the basic needs, which I get the basic needs. However, the ERA is a basic need. It would cover so much. So that's one part. My second part is, the question is the boyfriend loophole needs to be put back into the end of violence against women.
Absolutely.
And I understand that it was taken out because of, you know, we had to give up something, you know, with the Republicans to get involved, but it's going to be reauthorized in 2027. Are you doing anything to make sure that we can get that back?
Yes.
Because we don't know who's going to be in office in 2027.
Yeah, so I have always advocated to close the boyfriend loophole. I advocated for that. As a matter of fact, there isn't really a boyfriend loophole here in North Carolina. Our law is better than the federal law when it comes to people who are unmarried. And as a matter of fact, that was used, and it has been used to protect LGBTQ relationships. So I am 150% with you. Hopefully in 2027, we won't have divided government, so we'll be able to take care of this. I will tell you, with the president, I mean, I'm more than happy to sign on to more resolutions and talk to more members of the administration about this. I have done that. I think it is very important for you all to figure out every woman who is on President Biden's re-election campaign, every, you know, member, every political person who's on his re-election campaign, and ask them to do it too, because he's more likely to listen to these people who are taking him around all over this country. You know, I mean, I'll do it. A bunch of us have it's not like this hasn't been done before, but you need to get to those particular women, you know, Veronica Escobar, who is on his re-election campaign. She's from Texas. You know, whoever else he's got, those are the women who are going to be most listened to. And the vice president, she won't do it. She won't talk to you. Okay, well, I'll talk to her. I know her. I traveled with her. I'll talk to her the next time I see her. So anyway, we have a couple others. We'll go with Beth and then we'll come over.
Congresswoman Deborah Ross, on behalf of Florida and I would like to thank you for all of your support. Beyond the word of America, really strong. Since the uprising started and the background of the government, you have been really supported by signing the Constitution 100. You know that and bring a lot of hope to their cause and encourage them to continue the uprising. So I want to certainly share with you that Deborah's effort goes beyond their country and national scale.
Thank you, Beth. And we have to pick up the women and girls everywhere, everywhere on this planet. So yes, Wilmington.
Marla Barton, with APRA and Steel Lions. So my first comment was, I do believe with this Biden situation is that, you know, it's really hard to make campaign promises without from all the part of so I do see that. And my question to you is, have you seen what the Institute Justice Center put out about the
I have not seen that, but please send that to my office. Yeah. Please send that to my office. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions? Any other thoughts? We do have two members of the General Assembly here, and I don't know, are they speaking later? Oh, after me. That's great. Any other questions? Anything else? Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to talk to you. We'll follow up on. I'll follow up with the Vice President. And I hope you have a great rest of your convention.
Thank you. Thank you so much.